JoRoSaR.
Well, starting over here in the top left position, finally dropping a map for the first time this tournament. And you know what? 2 is all you need to drop here, because if he loses this one as well, he is out. It is a single elimination bracket. There is no way for him to come back. So he really needs to dig deep right now. Ladies and gentlemen, representing Team SCV Life here at the Gigabyte Esports LAN, it is Inori.
And his opponent, the red Zerg. In the bottom right-hand corner, it is none other than x6's ace, Sleep, who certainly wasn't asleep last game as he tore through Inori. Inori will find his opponent second. Of course, you know, as the Protoss player and on MLG Entombed, there are no close by ground thirds.
Yep.
So only vertical positions and cross-map. And I'm pretty sure that Sleep is going to be happy that they are in, indeed, the cross-map positions. Because, I mean, kind of just the positioning for the Protoss. If Protoss takes this base as their fourth base, the pushing distance between that and the Zerg main is just so short. And Protoss can really kind of do that sometimes with, you know, a big cannon force, especially if you've got that mothership defending as well.
That's a good point, actually. I mean, towards the late game, once you have a mothership out on the map, it's usually the Zerg that needs to be careful of where the engagement occurs, because the Vortex can come down at any time, and in that particular circumstance, it's useful for Protoss to actually have a base closer to the Zerg than otherwise would normally happen. So that would be the endgame scenario that ideally we are looking for here. And look at this, Inori going to be pylon blocking both the natural and the third base as well, not going to allow that drone to build that hatch.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly trying to. The drone is quite persistent, but Sleep, I mean, backed up and yeah, it's going to be the double pylon block, but Sleep backed up. He just built the Forlings and the Queen, so not really stopping his build. It does delay the hatch a bit, which is, I mean, it's brilliant play out of Inori to do that, but oh man, that probe, 1 health left, is going to waltz on out with its life, and that's such a close-to-death probe.
Cancels the other pylon at the third, because Inori does see that the Lings are out, destroyed the pylon over at the natural expansion, and thinks, well, I could delay your potential third location for another 45 seconds or so, but I know you're going to be taking your natural anyway, so I might as well get 75 minerals back. Yep,
absolutely. And I mean, 75 minerals, it all adds up as things go on through the game. So it's really, really important how you spend your resources in that super early game. Inori opted to go for the Forge first this game, and then Cannon, and then I think it was Forge Nexus Cannon Gateway actually was his order.
Yep, I believe that's right.
Which does mean that, I mean, his Nexus is down sooner than Sleep's expansion, again, due to the fact that there was that pylon block. But it did mean that he's delaying his tech, because his cybernetic score starting at 5 minutes like it did is a bit later than we've seen out of, say, you know, Forge Gateway, you know, or the Forge Gateway instead of the Forge Cannon Gateway builds.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean there. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to be spending those minerals on the other buildings first of all, it will be delaying your cybernetics core a little bit. But then again, when you know that Lings can't run into your base, that's also not too much of an issue. We see War Veteran Pro, by the way, over here in the natural expansion, going to be mining those minerals, retiring, enjoying gardening in his retirement home. And Inori actually going to be sending a probe out to the third base, scouting everything, while Sleep is too busy to attack, actually just going to be sorting at these destructible rocks. And in the meantime, no indication of tech yet. There is no gas being taken here for Sleep. In the main base of Inori, we see actually both gases have already been taken for some time, around 200 mine from them so far, but third and fourth still holding back on those.
Yeah, and I mean, Sleep has the Overlord position to see when gases 3 and 4 go down, and he also has the other Overlord position to suicide into the main and spot that tech need be. The one thing Sleep is missing, I feel, out of, you know, all of his scouting information is just the Ling constantly poking in at the front of the base. You really need to see if that Forge is researching, if the Cybernetics core is researching, and where those Chrono Boosts are allocated. Inori has made it difficult with all of his buildings at the top of the ramp, but you still can get some vision in by sacking a Ling every so often.
I think you make an excellent point there, Gwyn. Something that people don't understand enough in this particular game, as we do see a Zealot and Stalker just going to be poking in here, but they will be no match for the sheer number of Lings that are now going to be popping down the ramp. One thing what you said earlier about the Chrono Boost being applied as, oh, hang on a second, it looks like the Zealot is going to get surrounded here. The Zealot goes down, but what about the Stalker? The Stalker has no shields left, and these Lings are going to try and do as much damage as possible. The Stalker is going to head all the way on home. He can try and kite these Lings, but but the more he kites, the more damage he is taking. And we have got a Ling in the middle of the watchtower as well. Is he going to try and catch it out? It doesn't look like at this time. 3 Lings now going to be catching the Stalker.
Pylons going down. Inori has added 8 gate, 4 in the corner, 4 in the main, so he is doing a 9-gate build.
This is all in as heck.
Yeah, this is completely all in. And I mean, if you look at these 4 gates in the main, basically saying, look, man, I'm going 5-gate expand. Don't even worry about it. But Sleep has actually denied all of the proxy pylons out of Inori so far. There was one that went down, attempted at the 6 o'clock. Sleep spotted it, was able to take it out, but Sleep still does not have these destructible rocks killed, and that could be a deciding factor in this next match.
A probe actually being spotted by the Overlord here, and Sleep doing such a good job with his map vision.
Scouting.
He doesn't actually see the 4 gates up here. Actually, one of them will cancel. Only 3 now. Yep. But, oh, wow, the probe actually getting past the Lings. They went straight past the probe.
How did that happen?
And the forward pylon does actually go down. So despite his amazing Overlord spread and great scouting, Inori is going to get that forward pylon down.
Yeah, and this could be absolutely huge. I mean, if he gets one on the low ground and then gets vision of the high ground, he can warp in directly there. And, I mean, all of Sleep's units are kind of on the other side of the map. There's a lot of sentries and stalkers there. Speed just finished up for Sleep. He's got roaches on the way as well as that plus carapace upgrade. But there we go, the first warp in happening. And this is going to be a really scary 8-gate out of Inori.
We have to wait and see what happens here. A lot of Zealots actually being warped in at this forward pylon. Will the Lings be able to snipe off the pylon? They're actually getting a good surround on all of these Zealots, but so many of them here. We do have more and more Zealots, a sentry and, a lot of sentries and a single Stalker joining up. Another 4 at the natural expansion. The Zealots do actually
beautiful force field from the side. Sleep does have another option, though. He's going for it. The drones have been pulled. Queens from the side, or Queens from all sides. Oh, but look at that. The Lings sneaking inside the force fields, and this might be the end of this push for Inori, but did he do enough damage? He did so much economic damage there. Look at that, 14 workers killed. Was it enough, JoRoSaR?
I am not 100% sure it was. He is ahead 50 to 28, though, in the worker count. Don't forget, though, 3 injected hatcheries means that if this push does get completely taken apart, and we do have Lings and Roaches to protect it, he can drone out like an absolute madman behind this, so Sleep will be able to re-drone. It's a question of whether he chooses to, and there we go, a round of 6 drones going to be popping in now. I would personally expect him to actually drone even more heavily. I wouldn't, with that many gateways worth of production, I wouldn't try the counterattack on the grounds that Inori can simply warp in straight away, and if you lose the army, you will actually be susceptible to the second wave of chaos.
I mean, and Inori is actually getting Blink, rather, and a robotics facility, so, I mean, Sleep with the Ling placed at the 3rd. He's not going to be going for the 3rd, but look at this, Sleep trying to pick off these Stalkers. He wants to reduce the Stalker count. Yeah, this is beautiful. I mean, the control we're seeing out of Sleep in this game is exceptional, but I think that enough damage was done. I mean, that drone count is up to 41, but, I mean, look at the probes, man. 53 probes out on the field for Inori. That's a beautiful number to be at, and I'm not sure how Sleep is going to come back from this.
Sleep is definitely trying. I mean, he was down at 28 workers a moment ago. Don't forget, he's already up to 44 and going to be up to 47 in a bit. So Inori would have had an economic advantage, but that's only in terms of number of workers. Don't forget the 3rd Nexus only just went down for Inori, and Sleep, even though he's on fewer workers, he has had 3 hatcheries plus a macro hatch worth of larvae to deal with, and he is on 3 bases worth of mineral patches. So I actually think Sleep is not really that behind in this game. He is 80 to 96 supply down at the moment. If he took out that pylon, would anything stop? Yes, the Forge would actually have stopped researching, I think, if that this pylon might just be in range of the Forge, actually.
No, it does power it. So he would be okay there, but man, Inori with those 3 proxied gates outside his base, you know, so deal. And Sleep right now is looking to take a 4th base. I'm not sure if I agree with this move. Inori is out on the map with some Blink Stalkers. He's going to be aggressive. And look at this. There's a Warp Prism speeding down this way as well. And, oh, this is going to be so hard for Sleep to deal with. That is actually rallied to the back of his 3rd base. So he's going to have to be completely on top of shutting that down. He's building an Overseer, wants to snipe that Observer. But these Blink Stalkers are just drawing the army of Sleep away with the intention of dropping the main with that Warp Prism.
Here's what he can do with those Blink Stalkers, though, Gwyn. If he just loses all of these Stalkers, that's not good either. Warp Prism going to be going in towards the 4th now. And here's a nice thing. Let's see if it deploys at the 4th, because if Inori chooses to deploy it there, the hatch can simply be cancelled and Sleep can buy time. It looks like he's actually going all the way to the third. The Queen spotting the Warp Prism, doing some damage to the shields there. Yep, he is pulling his entire army back, and the element of surprise from Inori is now gone.
But this gives Inori the time. Look at this. Inori now is able to move out with his slower units, his sentries, without being contested by Sleep to that Zelnaga Watchtower. He's just going to reclaim it for now, but again, he's trying to pull the army of Sleep in multiple directions. And Sleep now, he knows that Warp Prism is back there. It is an ever-present threat. He's getting the Spire as well as that Hive. Pretty well timed, but he's going to have to make some Spine Crawlers to deal with that potential Warp Prism.
Third base now saturated as well for Inori. So he went through that phase there where he was only just taking his third base, but did enough economic damage to Sleep. Exactly. Did enough economic damage to Sleep there that he was able to get away with it without the risk of Sleep doing run-bys every so often. So now we do see both players are technically back up to even ground on the worker supply, both at 71, but the army supply from Inori is significantly stronger. We do have an Ultralisk Cavern, though, now starting that the Hive is complete, and a lot of Spine Crawlers going down in the main base, and a Spire behind there as well.
At the same time, the Warp Prism has gone into phasing mode at the third base, but is getting so low. Inori wasn't watching it there. Only 67 hit points. Oh, it's killed off by the other Queen of Sleep. Beautiful play there to knock that out, and Sleep has to be sighing a breath of relief, knowing that that Warp Prism is no longer on the field, and Inori would have to produce another one, and he's going full Immortal out of that Robo-Man, even with one queued up. He does not want to be making another Warp Prism.
Nope. Oh, and wow, we have a Stargate actually coming, and a Robotics Bay coming in the back here. So we are seeing an endgame scenario here from the Protoss. We have Void Ray Colossus going to be mixing in with this army composition.
I think the Stargate is probably for the mothership, JoRoSaR, actually.
Oh, we normally see a Void Ray or two when Colossi come out on the field as well. We do need that mothership, absolutely, but there's no sign of a fleet beacon just yet, of course.
The Brood Lords, they're going to be coming, man. That Greater Spire is about a third of the way done.
Yep. So we should be seeing, hopefully, the fleet beacon go down as soon as the Stargate is complete. We'll be watching out for that on the unit production tab. In the meantime, Sleep still at 130 supply, actually banking up quite a lot and making a lot of Spine Crawlers at the moment. He's being very, very defensive. This is a transitional period for the Protoss where he's trying to get the army he wants, but isn't making that many more units. Could Sleep have maybe made a larger army here as he goes for a run by?
I mean, it's one of those things where I feel like Sleep is, he's saying, I'm just going to try and delay your push, delay your push, delay your push until I can get those Broodlords out. And now he has the Corruptors on the way. He does deny. That wasn't canceled, by the way. He does actually kill off the base of Inori, who will have to throw down another one. Look at this, man. The probe transfer is going to be in vain. There's no nexus there for them to mine at. This is kind of scary for Sleep, though, because there is that Void Ray, like you mentioned. There is the fleet beacon going down as soon as that Stargate finished up.
There we go.
But this is one of those things where if Inori pushes, like, right now, Sleep actually doesn't have an army. Like, he does not have an army. And I don't think Inori knows that. But Sleep never went above about 140 supply this whole game. He just stayed super low on the unit count, played defensively, counterattacked a lot, and didn't make any units. And what that means is that he can tech amazingly quickly, and he can expand all over the place. This is what we saw him do.
You are absolutely right there, Gwyn. I mean, we often talk about when is the most volatile time to attack a Zerg player, and it's when the supply is kept up in Corruptors there, and you're unable to do too much damage until the Broodlords pop out. But we do now see Broodlords on the map. Inori may have had a timing there, but it has passed, and x6Sleep was down for over 50 supply for quite a lot of that game. He's now still down 40 supply, but look at the number of Broodlords that are here. If he supports the Spine Crawlers with this, so many Infestors here as well. Those Blinkstalkers not able to do too much damage. Oh, actually very nice dodging a fungal there. But now that the Broodlords are out on the map, Inori has to seriously think twice about engaging this army, even if he is at a supply lead. So I would say mission accomplished here in the mid game.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally like Inori playing too passively in that mid game and not kind of committing to the push and not really having the scouting, because Sleep has been so persistent about denying scouting from Inori. He has killed off so many observers this game, and it looks like he might be going for the next base going down and the next attempted base going down. Going to kill off some of these photon cannons and this probe. That will slow Inori down, but Inori is doing a good job finally clearing off some of the creep with a group of Blink Stalkers and that observer. Beautiful play out of him.
We have got, yeah, exactly. I like the fact that he's trying to push the creep back. I mean, one of the things about Zergs that are very, very frustrating to deal with is, of course, that creep spread. Recent patch helping against Terrans just a little bit. Queen's obviously kiting Hellions and all that, but in PvZ, it's very, very important for Zergs to be able to see a Protoss Death Ball push coming from a very, very long way away, so that you can get units in position to flank from multiple angles, which is the most typical way how a Zerg manages to defeat it. You do not want to be engaging an endgame Protoss Death Ball head-on. You have Vortex, you have Storms, you have Archons in the mix, and all of that splash damage usually is a massive no-no to a late-game Zerg army, unless you can flank from multiple directions at once.
Yep, it is true. And man, Sleep, look at this. He burrowed a Ling at that base up there, being just so persistent with trying to deny Inori additional bases. I mean, pooping creep at this one down here. So he's just been so good about that all game long. He's respreading his creep as well, poaching those spine crawlers and spore crawlers forward bit by bit across the map. And I got to say, you know, this is such a hard position for the Protoss to be in. He's going to have that mothership out momentarily. It just does pop as you hear that wonderful mothership popping sound. But, I mean, this spine crawler wall supported by Infestor Broodlord, Inori can't push this. He really can't. Oh, and here are the Broodlords are actually over a chasm, so they can't even be blunk underneath. And all those Stalkers' lives are forfeited as they are locked down by the fungal, and the Broodlings tear them apart.
And look at this. Like you mentioned, Broodlings just doing so well. 2-1 upgrades, by the way, on those. And Sleep just able to tear through that army.
There's a Warp Prism on the side of the map, JoRoSaR. It's heading toward the natural base of Sleep. And, I mean, this is the kind of thing that Inori is throwing into his play, which is so beautiful out of the Protoss. He's basically saying, look, you know, I am going to, you know,
that's a lot of Zealots, man.
Oh, it's a ton of Zealots. And, I mean, the Broodlords obviously can kill the Zealots, but he's going to do so much damage. These Zealots have 3 attack, and 3 attack Zealots are actually one of the highest DPS units in the game. Especially per cost, and against things that are not micro, they do amazingly well. Sleep having to spend a ton of APM to deal with this. That Warp Prism will fall to the Corruptors that are chasing it, but this has pulled the army out of position, and Inori pushing in toward the bottom 6 o'clock position of Sleep.
This is going to be absolutely huge. If Inori is able to get this flank off, that will be fantastic. But the Spine Crawler Wall doing its job of delaying the army just long enough for the Broodlords to get out. There is actually no army underneath the Broodlords right now. It is the Broodlords and nothing else. That could have been so dangerous for Sleep.
It could have been catastrophic.
Look at how many Stalkers there are. There are only 7 here, and while there are Void Rays as well, I don't think Inori wanted to take that chance. Not quite enough anti-air to take the Broodlords out super quick.
He does kill off the base down here at the bottom
and
to the left of the 6 o'clock.
One up the top here. It looks like the 4th base, no, pardon me, the 5th base of Inori is getting taken down here more or less purely from infested Terrans. Every single probe in the mineral line going down. The Nexus will survive even if it's just because of the timeout on the infested Terrans there. The army also returning for Inori, but not a single probe is now mining at the top. And we also have in the top right more infestors just going to be sneaking in. It looks like the cannon actually sees 2 of them in vision. Just going to be warping in a few Stalkers to make sure that they know their place. Current worker supply 78-70 in favor of Sleep, who is maxed out versus a 178 in Nori.
Another Warp Prism coming, but there are 2 Queens waiting to greet it, and that Warp Prism will pull back until it has more shields. So, you know, Sleep putting Queens in advantageous positions. He actually does not need the Larva any longer. He's got so many available. But Inori is transitioned into 3-star carrier. And what are we seeing in this game? This is actually insane. A second Warp Prism out on the map as well for Inori, making its way down on the left-hand side. Those speedy Warp Prisms doing so much, but Sleep has started his Doom push across the map. So many Broodlords, so many Corruptors, and the Mothership coming in. But that was a huge fungal on everything, and if he just continues to fungal, he can actually see what's going on. The carrier is coming out. Beautiful Vortex, but not enough of Sleep's Broodlords are in that Vortex.
Oh dear. Oh dear, the Vortex actually doing a decent job, but there are so many more Broodlords out towards the rear of this army.
Oh, but he's going to have a second Vortex right now. He just got the energy to do it. The Corruptors coming out of the Vortex. He's hoping that he can kill off all the Corruptors with these carriers and then kill off the Broodlords in turn, and I think that he's going to be able to do it. Sleep, what is he remaxing on? Of course, 14 Corruptors on the way, plus 3 flyer attack. That Mothership, 36 health, so close to death.
Wow, those Corruptors are really needed right now because the carriers are doing so much damage to the Broodlords, picking them apart as if they weren't even there.
At the same time, a drop down in the bottom from, or I'm sorry, a Warp It down in the bottom from Inori, doing a ton of damage. The Infestors tried to do some damage. They almost killed that Nexus, but not quite, throwing a few more infested Terrans. But a lot of Broodlords were lost there, and that Mothership barely survived.
And the Broodlords are going to live to fight another day. There are still a decent number of them out on the map. 12 of them going to be moving towards the 5th base of TSL Inori right here. The Mothership is starting to regain its shield, so even though it's on 36 health, it will have those shields to try and replenish a little bit. He sees the probe transfer going up to the top right of the base.
Oh,
with
beautiful,
and,
beautiful
wow.
Vortex once again on all the Corruptors. The Archon's going in. He has to have these Corruptors or his Broodlords are forfeit. And oh, man, Inori with just amazing play there. He's going to be able to take out so many of these Corruptors so quickly. They all stack. Does he have the Corruptor count, though? He spreads them out, trying to focus down those carriers. If he can kill off the carriers, he'll be fine. Queen's transfusing the Corruptors, JoRoSaR, and they do all fall. Sleep might have just won that game with that engagement.
That really was an inspired choice from Inori, but I wonder if it was the right one. Picking down the Corruptors is a great choice because if all the Corruptors die, like you mentioned, even though none of the 12 Broodlords were actually inside the Vortex, the carriers would have been able to pick everything else apart. The problem is the Corruptors were still just so strong when they came out. Look at this, 3-1. When's the last time you saw +3 flyer attacks in a ZvP?
I mean, it only happens in these crazy super late game, and Sleep with 3 full energy Queens out here to keep this army alive. He actually does not want the carriers to be able to group up. Another transfuse going down on the few Corruptors that were hurt there. 4 more in production, +2 flyer attack. Infested Terrans at the upper right-hand base for Inori, continuing to deny it, and he did finally kill off that Nexus as well. And Inori, what is his option? He looks like he's taking down the Destructible Rocks to try and expand to the left-hand side of the map, but is it the right choice? Can he pull it off?
He does still have 3 carries, but 3 carries are pretty powerless against this insane Zerg army composition. This air Zerg
25
from Sleep
Corruptors
is just so unbelievably strong. The Stalker's now going to be blinking into the southern base. Unfortunately, so many Spine Crawlers able to hit them as they go in. There are about 6 of them still alive, though, and the Spine Crawlers are moved back from Sleep, doing a great job of multitasking, basically preventing Inori from going out beyond his top left corner of the map, and I think that is going to be GG. 180 versus 57 supply. We are just waiting for the good game now. Inori cannot win this.
Yeah, I mean, this is such beautiful play out of Sleep. He's just continually keeping his Corruptors spread out as well. Doesn't want a surprise Mothership. And the GG out of Inori. Sleep
Zoya's over there off to my left having a seizure off camera right now.
He was telling me earlier that it was going to be 2-0 Inori, that Sleep didn't have a chance, and I was like, no, man.
Wow.
Sleep's ZvP is so good. It's so sick. And really, there was this moment where, like, it was so scary watching Sleep. He was at 130 supply against 180 supply Protoss. And if Inori had known, if he had pushed, but he didn't know because Sleep had sniped every single observer that had been on his side of the map.
That's the thing about Sleep that I always comment on more than anything else. People who have watched this stream, have watched me casting IPL or MLG last weekend would know Sleep's creep spread, Sleep's map awareness, Sleep's overlord spreading, so meticulous and so spectacularly good that he was able to take those out. We see that there were 3 warp gates in the top right of the map. Okay, Sleep didn't see those for quite a long time. But you know what? The probe that was going to plant the forward pylon down, all right, it got a little bit lucky when the Lings and Roaches came up the right-hand side. But the point is, the like Overlord saw everything.
The one at the 6 o'clock position got spotted.
Gone.
Another one got spotted. Gone. And then the one on the side. I mean, it got the pylon down, but it just exceptional play out of Sleep, especially after taking so much damage from that 8 gate.
Yeah, and that allowed Sleep to hold position and just tech up during that period where Inori had about 180 supply and could have moved out. Everyone watching the stream could see, well, hang on a second, he is 40 to 50 supply ahead. He should definitely move out right now. The only person that doesn't know that is Inori. And why doesn't he know that?
Because all of his observers have been sniped off by beautiful Fungals, beautiful Queen placement, and that Overseer.
Exactly. So there'll be people saying, you know what, Inori should have won that game.
Totally.
And maybe, there was like a nice 3-4 minute period where a push would have just killed Sleep. But Sleep playing off of that so well. That period where Zergs are so vulnerable in that transition to Broodlords, but just completely
But it's
safe.
scary, right? Because the Protoss is 180 supply, and if you, for instance, push into Sleep and he's got like Ling, Bane, Roach with Fungal, you actually lose your whole army. You do. Like, you don't.
But he didn't have the units. He was busy trying to remake drones.
But he didn't have the units. He had no units. But Inori doesn't know that. So
that's right.
So just exceptional denial of scouting. One Sleep that game, and
you have to be so brave as well to know that, okay, my scouting's good. Now I'm going to sit back and hope I don't die for 5 minutes. That is such a brave decision to make. Zerg players, of course, struggle with that in late game everywhere. But Sleep was hanging on like that for such a long time.
So
in that game.
Sleep is going to the semifinals here of the Gigabyte Esports LAN.
And he's going